On today's pod, I want to go deep. Ted Nguyen of The Athletic. He does all the film work that you need to get ready for a football week. And he did a big-time breakdown of this Eagles defense and what they're able to do with their linebackers and a concept. I want you to bring this up next time you're hanging out with your friends. You can steal it from me. Do we round up with youth on defense and round down with age on defense? I think we do. Maybe we should stop. I don't know if a movement will start, but we're going to go through all the contenders and if there are any flaws. He also talks to defensive coordinators from the NFL, and they rank their top 6 O coordinators. And again, a more in-depth preview of Kansas City and Philly, and he'll pick that game. We've got life advice, biking. We've got corporate people reaching out about what to do, what not to do. So get ready, HR. We're coming to you on a Friday. This is the Ryen Russillo podcast presented by FanDuel, and the NFL is officially back. So if you're going to be in it with FanDuel. They've got the goods, futures, live betting, SGPs, that same game parlays, your way bets, all of it. The app's clean, it's fast, and yeah, when you win, you get paid instantly, which is nice because Sunday patience doesn't exist. So get your bets in, build something bold, and make every game feel bigger. Download the FanDuel app or head to FanDuel.com/Ryen, R-Y-E-N, to get started. The Ringer is committed to responsible gaming. Please visit rg-help.com to learn more about the resources and helplines available, and listen to the end of the episode for additional details. Must be 21 and older and present in select states or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat. In Connecticut, paid endorsement. He is one of my absolute go-tos throughout the NFL offseason and even more so during the NFL season. From The Athletic, does a great job on the NFL and a ton of film breakdown stuff. Ted Nguyen joins us now. What's up, man? Good to see you.
Good seeing you. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, let's get to it because we start with this Packers D. It was really impressive against a Detroit team that likes to establish the run. They could not run the football. They couldn't protect. There's some interior offensive line stuff that you probably figure they'll get sorted out at some point. And then we see the Packers go up against a Commanders offense that put up real numbers last year. And I still think Jaden, statistically, I guess it's argued it's his worst game of his career. I still think he was doing. For a guy that was struggling and things weren't going to work, there were actually some things that I kind of liked about him last night and just being competitive. I'm not even talking about like the late scores that nobody cares about. But we see that Green Bay, with this front, they can get there with 4. Talk to me about what you think this defense is capable of this season.
Yeah, I mean, in week 1, we saw them shut down the Lions' run defense. And actually, it was one of the worst rushing performances for the Lions in the last few years, holding them to, I think, 2.1 yards per carry or something like that, which is extremely impressive. And then we want to see if they could do it again. And they stopped the Commanders' rushing offense, which is one of the most unique in the league. And I think one thing that's pretty interesting about that is defensive coordinators could kind of struggle with a read option because they don't see it a ton. But Jeff Hafley is coming from college where he did see it a lot. So he does have experience shutting it down. So you saw some of those defensive concepts that shut down those option sort of runs. And obviously, when you stop the run, you could pin your ears back and start pass rushing. And we saw that with Micah Parsons, and you saw him move around the formation. He rushed from the inside a little bit more. I think he rushed from the inside 10% of his snaps and just caused a ton of havoc with those games. And yeah, I think this Green Bay defense is for real. I mean, I think there's some questions to outside corner, and they finally got tested against Commanders, but Keyshawn Nixon, I thought, passed that test with flying colors. So I think this Green Bay defense might be the number 1 defense in the league by the end of the year.
Yeah, it looks pretty special. And to have that many options, on the front line, and like Van Ness's huge day in week 1, and then Cooper shows up, and it was kind of fun to see him as somebody that I started noticing more and more last year, get a couple moments where it's like, hey, point this guy, and then he's making plays right after the broadcast, is pointing him out at linebacker and Walker, the versatility with him. Like, these guys are hitters. They've got size. They've got mobility. So yeah, we'll see, because it looks like if you can get there with 4, that can solve a lot of your problems in the back end. If I look at Love and how he's looked at the beginning of the year, because it was, we've covered this a bit, but it's just comes onto the scene. You're like, wow, they actually were right about this guy. And then we wanted to see the development off of that. And it wasn't enough of a jump in year 2. And he's had a really nice start. The deep shots are fun. Like to see LaFleur just going like, hey, I want to get like 5 or 6 of these up. Kraft has a monster night. It sucks that Reed got hurt, but we see the depth at receiver and all these different things. it is interesting after Hurts winning a Super Bowl, and then it's like, okay, where is he? And then some people think it's like absurd because of the resume for him to not be considered like closer to the top 5 than maybe a top 10 guy. And then Jaden's year, and then kind of this unknown. How would you look at Love and maybe compare this with where you're at with him now, what you thought of him in August, of whether or not this conference is actually his, especially with Stafford aging out?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a ascending quarterback. I thought last year the injury really affected him. I mean, he just did not want to run last year after he got injured in week 1. And I think now that he's healthy, we're seeing him, a little bit more mobile. We saw him scramble for 14 yards. Not that it's going to be a huge part of his game, but that mobility does add a little bit more to his game. And I just think, yeah, in his just another year in his offense and just knowing LaFleur and building on those concepts that they have. It just his skill set fits so well with what LaFleur wants to do. And he's just a guy that wants to attack downfield. And they had so many explosive plays yesterday, and they left a few on the field too. Like he just barely missed on a couple. So I think Jordan Love is, I thought he was going to ascend into that top 10 category last year. Obviously, it didn't happen, but I think now that he's healthy, I think they figured out some things with the receiving order after adding Golden into that equation. I really think he's going to get to that level this year. So with that type of defense, I think Jordan Love ascending to that top 10 tier of quarterback, this is, I think to me, they're a real Super Bowl contender.
It feels like you're being critical of Hurts if I'm ever like, well, hey, look, I think he's fine, but I'm not sure. I mean, there was a chart from week 1, which again, it's just week 1, so it's a little unfair to him, but it was like time to throw and not like the time to throw one, which I think can be misleading if you're running away for pressure or you're just freelancing on your own. But it was like depth of target versus basically how well you're protected. And Hurts was like a dot on the chart that was so far away from everything else. So if I just like rapid fired with you, like for all things being equal, would you rather have Love for a season or Jalen Hurts?
That's tough. I think Hurts fits exactly what the Eagles want to do as far as just being a read option quarterback. They have their tush push, and obviously nobody could tush push like Hurts can. And he could take those deep shots when teams start loading the box. So he's perfect for what they want to do. But I think as far as just being a overall dynamic quarterback, I think Jordan Love can exceed Hurts. And I'm not hating on Hurts. I've grown to appreciate his game. Like he does make those winning plays and winning decisions in those critical moments. But as far as just being an overall quarterback, being able to attack the field and read defenses, all those types of things, I think Jordan Love has a potential to exceed Hurts. But I could not put him over Hurts right now. I think the winning pedigree does matter, and Hurts obviously has that.
Okay, listen, I'll make it all about Hurts. Would you rather have Jaden Daniels for a season or Jordan Love?
I think Jaden Daniels. I just love everything about Jaden Daniels, and obviously he offers that dynamic running part of the game. But again, Jaden Daniels probably isn't quite there yet, but I like Jaden Daniels' overall ceiling, probably the best of any of those quarterbacks.
All right, you did a nice breakdown of Philly as we get ready for the Super Bowl rematch this early. It's almost like, it was funny because I was thinking about it the other day, looking forward to last night's game. Like just that Tuesday, Wednesday without a football game, which again, I do think the NFL is going to put this on 7 nights a week at some point. I think it's years away, but I think they'll try. But, you go all summer, maybe you're checking out some baseball, but it's the only like slowdown period for me. So then to get football and to have it Thursday, to have it Friday, to have all the college, to have it Sunday, then have it Monday, that Tuesday, it was like the first moment of like, oh, I don't have anything going on here tonight. So here we are after that Bills win, incredibly lucky week 1, lucky enough to have a Super Bowl rematch. When you break down the tape from that game, what do you think went wrong for the Chiefs?
Well, the main thing is protection. Like they got pummeled from that Eagles pass rush. And I think they tried to do a lot of work as far as fixing their protection schematically and with talent. I think they lucked out getting Josh Simmons in the bottom of the first round, who should have been a top 10 pick. And he did make some mental mistakes in that Chargers game. But as far as a physical ability, I think he's the best tackle that the Chiefs had in years. And then I think Taylor, who they moved to the right side, there's some problems with him, but maybe if he could stay on the right side, he could be a little bit more stable. And if he doesn't, then they might move Jalen Moore, who they got in free agency, to right tackle, and then maybe that would solidify their offensive line. But I just think with Simmons protecting the blind side, they're a much better spot than they were last year. So we'll see how that protection holds up against the Eagles. But the Eagles pass rush isn't what it was in that Super Bowl run either. It's not as deep. Losing Milton Williams inside was a pretty big issue. We saw what happened when they lost Jalen Carter in that game. They really didn't have a good interior rush. So they're going to have to be a little bit more creative with their rush as far as simulated pressures and blitzing and that sort of thing. But the main thing was, that rush just destroyed the Chiefs in the Super Bowl, and the Chiefs couldn't get a run game going. Not that that's ever something that Andy Reid really wants to do, but it's just hard to live when your opponent could just sit in too high the entire game. Like, they just ran the same coverage pretty much 80% of the game, and they were able to get away with it. So curious to see if maybe they want to try to run the ball a little bit more than they did in the Super Bowl. I feel like they can't just get into a drop back game early and expect to beat the Eagles.
Okay, so here's something that I really like in the breakdown, because they lose the defensive line talent. I think through the draft, it's been prioritized to have these replacements, and now they're getting these replacement reps. Clearly, they've invested at corner with two of the younger guys, where you're like, okay, but is there still are they still one corner light, right? And Dean being out means they had to shuffle some things, but they take Campbell. The Zach Bond story is insane, because he goes from playing one way in New Orleans to what he does with Philly last year. And now it feels like Philly's actually going back to some of the other stuff. So he's just showing this incredible versatility. You did a big breakdown on these guys. So I guess I'm wondering, do they think the versatility with their linebackers is enough to compensate until the guys up front are seasoned enough to match what they've been able to do in the past with getting pressure without blitzing all day?
Yeah, I think some of the things they could do with Jahad Campbell could definitely help the pass rush. Actually, before the draft, my comparison, and I wrote this, my comparison for Jahad Campbell was Zach Bond, because he is a linebacker that has really good coverage instincts when he plays zone, and you could move him in on the line of scrimmage and rush him, and he could hold up at it as edge against a run. So now you have two players with similar skill sets, and you have Vic Fangio, who's going to draw up a bunch of things for these guys and move them around. And one of the things that Vic Fangio really likes to do is he'll move the front right before the snap. So he'll move. Last year was Zach Bond, who was playing inside linebacker. And then right before the snap, they'll move him to edge. And then it just makes it hard for the blocking scheme to account for him. But now they have Campbell back there, and now Campbell's the guy that's moving to the edge. And then they have Bond playing back, who's a little bit more experienced, and that works. And they're doing a few creative things, and they kind of unveiled it week one. But I think as we move, we're going to see more and more creative schemes. On 4th and 3 towards the end of the game, where the Cowboys needed to get it, they had a read blitz on where both Bond and Campbell were at the line of scrimmage, and they're reading the protection. So if the protection turned towards one guy, then they'll drop out, and then the other guy blitzes, and then he gets a good matchup against a running back, and that's exactly what happened. Bond ended up blitzing, got right into Dak Prescott's face, and Campbell ended up taking away the hot route, and they had to throw that ugly ball to CeeDee Lamb, which he had to dive for. He could have caught it, but it ended up getting dropped in that 4th and 3. So I really like the skill set, and I think we're going to see more and more interesting things from them and Fangio moving forward.
Yeah, that 4th and 3 throw to CeeDee, part of me liked Dak's aggressiveness. On the whole, I just think there's so many quarterbacks that get really comfortable with, they're saying, hey, I'm managing risk. And I would just be like, you're not even giving your team a chance. And I thought throughout that loss for Dallas, there were times where Dak was trying to give his team a chance to move the football, taking those shots. And I think those shots can kind of scare you over the course of the game. You can't just do it once. And again, that's kind of what I loved about Green Bay last night. And it felt like they could kind of do whatever they wanted. There were just so many times where they would drop back. Guys are just running wide open. And you're like, all right, well, no wonder they're so aggressive here. But on 4th and 3, and this is kind of like a separate thing, Do you like that going, hey, it's CD? Because there's also the default of the huge third down in that spot of fourth down is obviously bigger. We're making this, we're going home. The reliance on the number one option. Do you like that, knowing that if you could have just found something underneath, you're moving the chains on 4th and 3, but now you're taking a one-on-one shot on a go route?
Yeah, it also depends what the defense is doing, because on 4th and 3, Vic Fangio is not a big man coverage guy, but knowing that the Cowboys only needed 3 yards, he wanted to play a little bit more aggressive coverage, so they're playing man-to-man. And that read blitz I told you about, Campbell actually did a really good job of dropping out and taking away a short route that was kind of wide open that would have gotten 3 yards. So they took away that route. And then you have a one-on-one with your best player against Cooper DeJean, who's a good corner too. But I think that's why they took that shot. And then when you compare it to what happened at the end of the game when the Cowboys are trying to get the ball back and the Eagles had the ball and they were facing a 3rd and 3, and Matt Eberflus just calls a 4-man pass rush with cover 3 playing, zone. And then Jalen Hurts just, scoots out and gets the 3 yards on a run. It's just bad situational football. So it depends what the defense is doing. But I like taking that shot when you have man-to-man and you have your best player with the one-on-one.
Yeah. And right. It's not like Mitchell was on him too. Probably that's probably another part of it.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that is, I think we're all guilty of it. I try to check myself with a little bit, but especially on defense, I feel like I round up with young players and then I round down with old players. And I don't know if the age of Washington's defense, like if you look at the overall age numbers that come out before week 1, I think Washington's average age across the board was the oldest team in the NFL. I mean, hell, even Jaden in his second year, I doubt many people realize how old he is. So there's some youth on the defensive line, but then you start looking at corners and linebackers in that group. Is that a mistake, or is it actually the reason we round up is because the chances are these dudes in their mid-20s are just going to stay healthier, that they're just going to be in better shape dealing with the combative nature of the sport by like week 12?
Yeah, I mean, I think with defenders, like when you get up, because defense is so much about athleticism, because you have to be able to react to the offense. Like it's just tougher to play when you get older. I mean, I think playing certain positions like linebacker, where a lot of it is mental processing, you can age a little bit more gracefully. But I think with defense, as you get older, like it's just tougher to play the position, especially when you're playing, a position that you have to run a lot, like corner and react and that sort of deal. Even defensive line, like, you have to be a great athlete to be able to beat these tackles. So as you get older, it's just tougher because you don't have that twitch anymore. And there's some power rushers that can get away with it, but yeah, I agree with you. I think as you get older on defense, it's just tougher to play position. And then on offense, I think offense, like you can actually get better with age, even in like a position like wide receiver, definitely at quarterback. We see tight ends age gracefully, offensive tackles age pretty gracefully. So yeah, I kind of agree with you. Like it's round up for defense, and, for offense, I don't think age is as big of a deal.
I find myself doing it all the time. And I was thinking about it this week because of the Washington matchup and because of all these names on Philly that I like. And look, we only saw one game of it, and it felt like a lot of the names showed up big time in the second half. Like I was kind of waiting on some guys to play. Like Bond was kind of making plays throughout the entire game. But I was like, man, I feel like I always kind of default to hope for young defenses figuring they're going to think it out, or thinking they're going to figure it out. But yet whenever it's like an older depth chart on defense, I just kind of assume the worst. And it can't be that predictable, but I think just the athleticism and some of the stuff you were talking about plays into that. The Ryen Russillo podcast is brought to you by FanDuel. NFL Sunday's coming. You've got your crew, your couch, your snacks, your slate, and FanDuel's coming in with something extra. This isn't just another NFL Sunday. It's your chance to place that perfect parlay or hit your go-to player prop. And now we're making it even better because this week FanDuel's bringing the bonus. That's right. Right now, all customers can get a 50% profit boost on any NFL bet. However you play your game, FanDuel's got your back with something extra in your account, because that's what Sunday should feel like. Visit FanDuel.com/Ryen, Ryen, to download the app and get in on the action before kickoff. Must be 21 and older and present in select states, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Opt-in required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable profit boost tokens. Restrictions apply, including any token expiration and max wager amount. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. This episode is brought to you by Scout Motors. Whether on the gridiron or off of it, America loves a game changer. The all-new Scout Terra and Scout Traveler are entering the game. Iconic in the 70s. Reimagined for today and engineered with four-wheel drive, available locking differentials, optional 35-inch tires, and a projected 1,000 pound-feet of torque. Opposing defenses, take note. Join the waitlist at scoutmotors.com. Concept vehicles not available for sale. Features and performance specifications are preliminary and subject to change. Joining the waitlist does not guarantee purchase. Visit scoutmotors.com for details. Okay, I want to stay on this kind of contenders theme here because we've covered the Packers. You know, we're talking KC, we're talking Philadelphia here. KC's D. This is another group where I've liked the names. It was a week one game where, whether it's Mahomes statistically not being great in it, but having incredible moments here. Where are you on their momentum? Like, pick this game against Philly and give me whether or not you have a declining view of this group or, just expecting them to win the AFC like we have now for years.
Yeah, I mean, I think seeing what happened with the against the Chargers, I think this defense is going to struggle early on. I have faith in Spagnuolo in figuring it out eventually. But I mean, there was just a ton of coverage busts, mental mistakes from the secondary. I think losing Justin Reed was a huge underrated development that happened in the offseason because he was such a stabilizing force in that secondary as far as communication, tackling an open field, which is huge when you blitz as much as they do. And I think they missed that stabilizing force in the secondary. We saw just guys running wide open in man coverage because they couldn't pick up the right guy. And I don't think that's an issue that's going to get fixed in 1 week or 2 weeks. I think that's an issue that might need to get fixed as we go along, and maybe it happens later on in the season. And I also think Spagnuolo is not going to slow down or really simplify his calls for a young defense. I think he's going to keep calling what he does and make them figure it out. So I don't know if they're ready to stop this Eagles offense just yet with all the mistakes they're making. I think it's going to have to be on their offense to keep pace with the Eagles because there's just too many mistakes happening right now. So
you like Philly here?
I think it's going to be a high scoring game. And I think I'm going to say KC pulls it off. There's a factor, but I think it's going to be a high scoring game. I don't think that KC's going to go in there and shut down that Eagles offense. It's going to be a shootout.
Okay, let's stay with this contenders thing because if I was looking at FanDuel's odds this morning, the Bills are plus 170 win the AFC, Ravens plus 550. That feels like great Ravens value there. KC plus 700. The Chargers actually close to them at plus 800 there. If you were to talk about flaws, whether it was expected flaws based on summer, maybe it's overreacting a bit after just week one tape here, but is it the Bills secondary?
The Bills secondary is pretty bad. I mean, they have a 6th-round rookie starting for them last week, and then they're counting on Tre'Davious White to come in and fill that corner spot, but Tre'Davious White hasn't been good in 3 years. So
I feel like we've been waiting on that for a while.
Yeah, it's going to be rough. And they just announced that Ed Oliver is going to be out for a few weeks, and he was by far their best run defender. He was their best pass rusher too. So they're missing a huge part of their defense. They just gave up 238 yards rushing to the Ravens, and then they're playing the Jets, who just rushed for 182 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. So this Josh Allen's going to have to put on a Superman cape for a few weeks because this Bills defense is rough, and they're depending on Bosa staying healthy for 16 weeks, which doesn't happen. So it's there's a lot of holes in this Bills defense.
Did you like the Bosa tape though from that first game?
Oh yeah, I mean he looked great. I mean, anytime
Okay.
Bosa's playing, he's one of the best edge defenders in the league. It's just the problem is he's going to miss 5-6 games a year.
Yeah, and he's going to play in 5 other ones where he's probably not even close to 100%. And then you're kind of
Yeah.
watching going like, what happened? I mean, even the replay on that Lamar, it wasn't even a mesh decision. He's just out in the open against Lamar. And it was like week 1 early in the game. And it looks bad, but it's like, sometimes you have to just acknowledge like what's supposed to do in that spot. And then I thought,
Yeah.
Again, I'm not watching it the way you are, but I find myself like going, all right, I want to see how he's doing. And I was like, I thought he played well. So I'm glad you said that. Kansas City, we covered here. Are you a Herbert guy? Because there's, I don't know if there's a fan club for us or a secret handshake, but it's almost more unpopular to still like him.
I'm a big Herbert guy.
All right. Well, we can move on.
Herbert's elite guy.
Anything with Baltimore that you think is a flaw?
I'm not really concerned with Baltimore. Their offense looked great. Right guard is a problem. Daniel Falele. He's a guy that, he's a 6'8" tackle. They tried to move the guard last year. He was a problem early in the year, and they kind of figure out ways around him last year. But I think they were hoping he took the next step in the offseason, but he looks pretty rough. So that's a spot they might have to replace. Corner depth is a little bit concerning because Jair Alexander had to come in that game after Awuzie got hurt and he got.
I thought he was terrible.
Yeah.
And he used to be. I mean, whatever. He used to be one of the premier guys, and there's a reason he's kind of bouncing around now, and you're not 100% sure. Speaking of some of the health stuff, but like that pass interference in the corner, like just being out of position, he just didn't even look athletic on that. And maybe I'm being too harsh on that, but there was another play too where I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah, I mean, he's just like slipping all over the place. It doesn't look good. But I mean, they survived with Brandon Stevens playing corner last year, and he was pretty bad too. I think if Awuzie's healthy and Marlon Humphrey's healthy, then the corners are pretty solid. But if Jair Alexander has to come in and start, that's going to be another Brandon Stevens type of issue.
Yeah, I was looking at the NFC this morning. Green Bay's plus 270. Do you think Baltimore is a better football team than Green Bay today?
I think the Packers are a better team, but I think Lamar Jackson's on another tier from Jordan Love, and that makes a difference. So I would put Baltimore over the Packers for now. But if Jordan Love's is playing like a top 10 quarterback as the season goes along, then I would give the Packers the edge.
Yeah, I think everything that I've seen from that first week, I know it sounds crazy considering they blew the lead, but what I like about the work that you do and talking about the guys, that really understand this stuff is there an answer for everything, or are there times where it can feel a little unsolvable? Like when the Niners are healthy on offense, there are times where it feels like, hey, they're getting their 28, 31 points today. And now with the Niners, like the gap between the elite talent and then this kind of reset year, perhaps around some of the names that we're familiar with. And then it's like, okay, but if they lose a couple of these 5 or 6 special players, and it's like, here we are, it's week 2 and the quarterback and the tight end are already down. So, the Niners are still kind of alive in this conference race here when I was looking at least the odds part of it. So Green Bay's plus 270, Philly's plus 300. The Rams are plus 700. I got to be honest, Detroit's now plus, let me pull it up here again. They're plus 1,700. They're in 8th place.
Wow.
Vegas hates them after week 1. That feels a little harsh for Detroit there. Since we've talked Packers, are you surprised? Like, would you have the Rams as the 3rd best team in the NFC?
I mean, I like the Rams a lot. Their run defense and their secondary concerns me. But I mean, they played pretty well against Houston, but they kind of just dominated that Houston offensive line, which is just terrible. But if Stafford could stay healthy, and that's kind of a big if with that back issue, I could see them being one of the best teams in NFC. But I still have some questions about their defense. But I mean, I feel like that offense is going to be, flying pretty high if Stafford is able to play 17 games.
There was a running joke years ago when it was the McVay tree, and there's a lot of stuff said about that hiring cycle. And if you look around, most of those guys are still working, and most of them are considered the best offensive minds in this sport. So congrats to the McVay tree, whether or not it's actually the Shanahan tree, which again, if you had the family tree of how offensive football works, Mike would be up there, and then Kyle, and then McVay and the rest of it. You on The Athletic, and I would encourage people to read this, talk to defensive coordinators and ask them to rank the guys that are the best. So let's go through that ranking, because I was reading it this week as well. Who's number one? Who's the guy that everybody thinks is the best at doing this when we're talking about just designing an offense and then execution?
Yeah, number one is Kyle Shanahan. And, there are some flaws to Shanahan's offense when it comes to protection. That's one thing that did come up a few times. But as far as just his ability to attack weaknesses in your defense, understanding the rules of your defense, the completeness of that run game, and how they're able to attack with different personnel and that hybrid 21 personnel. They just get a ton of respect from defensive coaches. His ability to create explosives, his ability to, I think one huge thing is like he's able to make average players look really good. Like he's Jimmy Garoppolo looked like a Super Bowl quarterback in that offense, and then he gets out of that team, and all of a sudden he's a backup quarterback. So he's able to get the best out of his players, and he just understands the weaknesses of every defensive player on the field.
The rankings, and I have these up in front of me here again. I just want to pull it up to make sure. So it's Shanahan 1, it's McVay 2, who you had defensive coordinators essentially say like it's 1A and 1B with those two. Number 3 is Ben Johnson now with the Bears. Number 4 is Andy Reid. Number 5 is Kevin O'Connell with the Vikings. And then you finish it out with Matt LaFleur from last night. Let's try to figure out the different things that maybe, that were shared with you that you thought were really interesting. So what's the biggest McVay thing? And it's maybe not even McVay's system, but McVay's own development.
Yeah, I think, we all remember the Super Bowl where they lost to the Patriots. They only scored 3 points, and he couldn't adjust to that 6-1 defense that the Patriots ran. And I think as he's grown as a coach, he's gotten so good at adjusting and just coming up with stuff on the fly, having to change his game plan completely. That's one thing he got a lot of credit for. It's just like he has his Rolodex in his head that he could go to whenever he needs to. He's one of the best in-game adjusters. I think Andy Reid still gets credit for being the best as far as adjusting and coming up with the answers, during the game. But I think McVay is second in that respect. But I think overall, people like his system better because of the completeness of it. Andy Reid, surprisingly, didn't get any first place votes, but I think because he just is so dependent on the drop back game that some defensive coordinators don't give him as much credit as a play caller.
Yeah, what I really liked about McVay, I mean, the one quote was that essentially they feel like in game he can change the most. Is that different than the praise of Shanahan, where the praise for Shanahan was like he understands our rules better than everybody else and tries to break them? And he's running the same stuff out of like the same formation. Like that used to always be like a big Chip Kelly thing. It's like, it's going to look the same, but it's actually not going to be the same. And that can be more confusing than trying to make everything look different all the time. But I really enjoyed the one defensive coordinator just saying like McVay from the beginning of game, essentially to the end of the game, he'll deviate the most now of anybody that's installing an offense in game, which I think is probably one of the hardest things to do. And you've got to obviously trust your guys.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, part of that is, he has Matthew Stafford too. You got to have a quarterback that's able to kind of execute your game plan when you're changing things. It's not always easy. So having that elite quarterback that is a veteran quarterback, I think that definitely helps with the adjustments too.
Yeah, the Ben Johnson thing. Any hope for us Caleb Williams guys?
Yeah, I mean, I think Ben Johnson. And we saw the Lions really miss him too. I mean, we could talk about the Lions, but that they really miss his play calling. They really miss his attention to detail.
Let me interrupt you though. Like, what is it about? Because it did feel like the descriptions of the defensive coordinators was like very different for the praise for Ben, and whether it's marrying run pass stuff, we know the play action stuff with Jared Goff. Although sometimes it's like, okay, but we can't just play action every single time. Like we have to have the other part that they're afraid of. But, there are certain routes. There are like routes that look like Goff routes.
Yeah.
And I felt like there were Caleb throws that reminded me of Goff throws. And then there were a ton of throws that looked nothing like Goff throws or even the peanut guy. So explain to me like what is different about the way Ben Johnson attacks than maybe a McVay or Shanahan.
I think it's similar because they like a lot of play action. But I mean, obviously, when you're working with the Lions group of skill players, which arguably is the best in the league, it's going to look a little bit more explosive. I also think one thing that Ben Johnson gets a lot of credit for is his ability to just play to the strength of his guys. Like when you look at the Lions, they're very talented, but their players have very specific skill sets. Like Amon-Ra St. Brown is a slot player. He's very good at what he does, but he has a very specific skill set. Jameson Williams is a fast, explosive player, but it's a very specific skill set. Jared Goff has a very specific skill set, and he's able to just create plays that's able to take advantage of those skill sets, and it comes together in a coherent system, which is hard to do. And I think right now the Lions have to kind of get back to that. And even though the offense is a little bit siloed, I think they're not doing what Ben Johnson did. So I think for Ben Johnson, he has to kind of figure out what the skill sets for Caleb Williams is, Rome Odunze, and kind of create that coherent system with the Bears. And they're kind of figuring it out right now.
What's special about O'Connell?
O'Connell, he loves going downfield. Like we just talked about the Jared Goff offense, where it's a lot of yak, crossing routes and stuff like that. But O'Connell likes to attack downfield. So he's going to create these play action concepts where you're throwing down the seam, you're throwing corner routes. I think what O'Connell does really well is he's able to you can't take away Justin Jefferson because of the way he draws up plays. Like he knows what your coverage is, and he knows how to high-low them if you try to cloud Jefferson, and attack the quarter side if you're putting too much attention on Jefferson. So I think that kind of gamesmanship with knowing what you're going to do against his best player and just creating all these counters for it is what he does well.
Anyone that was left off the list, and LaFleur again was 6, that you were surprised?
No, I don't think there was any surprise. I thought maybe Kingsbury had a chance to get on the list. Maybe Joe Brady for his work with Josh Allen. But I could see why they were left out of the top 10. But I think, if Kingsbury continues to do what he does, he might end up being on the list next year.
Not enough motion for the football nerds from Kingsbury. So I don't know if that maybe got into the minds of some of the defensive coordinators here. Okay, last thought, because I think this is kind of fun. Like if there's a guy over the summer that you weren't thinking about and he pops up on film, and then it's like, okay, week 1, so it could be a name. It'd be fun if it's not a name. Is there a summer guy from the film study that you went in with like all this excitement about? Maybe that was paid off a little bit just 1 week into the season.
Yeah, he's not like an unknown guy because he was the 7th overall pick. Armand Membu, the right tackle for the Jets. Man, he looked phenomenal against the Pittsburgh Steelers and TJ Watt. Like he came in, 0 pressures, 0 sacks allowed, was dominant in the run game. Sometimes you have those games where you can look really good against an inferior opponent, but he's going against TJ Watt, and TJ Watt isn't what he used to be as far as a top elite pass rusher, but he's still a very, very good pass rusher. And there was a couple times where he pancaked him. Armand Membu came in, looked like a top 10 right tackle right off the bat, and like it's hard to do that at a premium position like that. So he had some jump out of your seat moments in that game. So I'd be highly encouraged if I was a Jets fan.
Okay. Well said. I also thought your breakdown of the week 1 stuff, there was an Aaron Rodgers thing where it's like, all right, 4 touchdowns, the 3 off of play action. But then also was it a bit of a warning how often the 3rd down throws are short of the line of scrimmage? Because that's probably not something we're thinking about with him, right?
Yeah. I think it's a good thing that he's allowing Arthur Smith to run the offense that he wants to run, because play action and bootlegs and motion is all stuff that he did not like. and kind of wanted to get away from when he left Green Bay. And obviously it didn't work out for him. So it's a good thing that he's running the offense as is, and he's kind of playing within the system. But, like if you look at the numbers, you look at, it's 4 touchdowns. You think Aaron Rodgers is back, but a lot of it was short passes, DK Metcalf creating after the catch, play action, getting guys wide open. One of his touchdown passes was basically a tap pass, which is kind of basically a handoff. So he played well, threw really quickly, threw short of the sticks. That formula isn't always going to work week after week. So it still kind of remains to be seen if he could execute on 3rd and long and that sort of deal. But it's a good sign for the Pittsburgh Steelers that he can run the system at a high level. I just don't think that, he's going to be the Aaron Rodgers people think he is just because he threw 4 touchdown passes in week 1.
Read Ted on The Athletic. It's outstanding stuff, perspective, and then again, his film breakdowns, which I find are actually easy to read and then have better understanding as you prep up for another week of football. Thanks, man. Talk soon.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Okay, let's talk FanDuel. We last year went sharp money couch, and it was a bad year for the sharps, bad year for the house, although anybody that does it for a living and then how much resentment they have towards the betting public when they do well, it's a little annoying. So we tried to do something different. And then last year, I still think the sharp number ended up coming in better than couch money research because fading the public wasn't really working last year either. I guess, again, I don't know a ton about this stuff, but friends of mine that do this were like, it was a disastrous year on kind of fading the public on some of that stuff. So last year, the sharp pick was the Browns for week 1 winner. This week, sharps, because it's just an ugly ass line, the Jets plus 6.5 at home against the Buffalo Bills. So you could always play Bills. The great thing is, as good as the Packers look and as good as any team, the 2 or 3, they're going to look great the first 4 or 6 weeks. Chances are these teams are still going to end up like 4 or 5 losses. So there's going to be some awful week in there. It's just trying to figure out whether it's a matchup, whether it's an injury thing that people are a little bit more educated on, that are paying closer attention to that stuff, or just the momentum of the week-to-week survival of this league. So the pick right now from the sharps, plus 6.5 Jets at home against the Bills. I'm going to give you 3 other picks that I like because they're all gross and you're just not going to like betting it. Atlanta opened at plus 4.5 at Minnesota. It's now 3.5. I like Atlanta. The Bears are plus 6, plus 6.5, depending on where you're going to find it. I think it's plus 6.5 right now on FanDuel. So let me check that out as I scroll through. Yep, 6.5, looking at it this morning. So I like Chicago. We could talk about Ben Johnson going up against his defense, but it's a different defensive coordinator. You could talk Chicago and how bad it actually looked over the entirety of the game. So you're not going to like doing that, but there you go, Bears. And I like Carolina plus 6.5, opened at plus 4.5 at Arizona. Carolina looked terrible. So those are the picks, and check it all out. And don't forget that profit boost for all customers by going to sportsbook.fanduel.com. And now it's time for a special part of today's episode, brought to you by NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket has awesome features to help you stay on top of all of the action, like Multiview, where you can watch up to 4 games at once or track your favorite teams and players with stats and Fantasy View. Keeping up with your fantasy league has never been so easy. Device and content restrictions apply. Look, I've got a fantasy league. I don't like to tell anybody about it because I don't know if they'll believe me. And what I know is I had a hard time sifting through all of these great tight ends. I propose a tight end only fantasy league. I don't know if it's going to take off or there'll be any action on that, where you just have to play 5 different tight ends. I feel like the league has enough depth for it. But if you're trying to keep track of 5 tight ends in a tight end only fantasy league, YouTube TV would be the only way to be able to do it with NFL Sunday Ticket. Just, hey, what are you doing? How come you don't have the major markets on? I have all the tight ends on. I'm playing Kraft and Trey McBride today. This guy's got both. He moved around. Snake draft. If you're in a keeper league, you could watch the Colts and you could go, is Anthony Richardson ever going to get in? Do I make him available on the trade market and update my trade settings? So look, whatever you want to keep track of, this is the way to do it. Whether you build your own 4-screen box, whether you're just dialing around to all the different games. Granted, Red Zone can help you a little with that stuff, but if you're serious about this, you're like, look, I keep track of my guys. Am I looking at box scores for receptions, or am I seeing what kind of targets they're getting with my eyes? Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch every game, every Sunday, all in one place with NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV and track your fantasy league players like a champ. And right now, you can get NFL Sunday Ticket month to month and cancel anytime. Go to youtube.com/Russillo, Russillo, to sign up now. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games. Excludes digital-only games. Base plan required. Renews every month during the 2025 regular season only. Your membership for the following month can be canceled anytime before your renewal date. Terms, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Commercial use excluded.
You want details? Fine. I drive a Ferrari 355 Cabriolet. What's up? I have a ridiculous house in the South Fork. I have every toy you can possibly imagine. And best of all, kids, I am liquid. So, now you know what's possible. Let me tell you what's required.
Life advice, rr@gmail.com. Kyle, Steve, potentially Wargon. So, the follow-ups have been so good lately that I feel like I've been starting. We have a little time, a little room on today's show. So I'm just never going to hesitate if we think we can be helpful here. Yeah. So it's almost like community/life advice. How are you guys, by the way?
I'm back on track, if anyone was wondering.
I was.
Totally back. I was even able to wipe that fucking food off of Wargon's thank you note, clean the office, did my little 3.5 miles today, showered. I was showering at like 4 o'clock, really threw my whole day off, but yeah, I'm back on track.
You're swearing a lot lately, though.
What's that?
Have you noticed? I'm not necessarily like saying, hey, clean it up, but
I'm swearing a lot?
Yeah, like Wednesday.
Yeah, there was a while where I was on top of mind, and I guess, all right, I'll add it to the list. Thanks. Way to take me down a notch. I'll be better.
Hey,
I'll be better.
Hey, if that's going to rattle you, you're softer than I thought. And I don't think you're soft.
Noted.
Yeah. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not even going to ask how Ceruti's doing after that. Okay. Hatfish Solution. We had a lot of these. Now, my least favorite content is probably we bat something around for 10 minutes and then somebody comes up to something super obscure. And it's like, I usually like the pod, but I cannot believe you. And it's like, like somebody the other day was asking me if I'd read this book. And then they were like, I thought you were into history. And I was like, I am, but I have not read.
There is a lot
all
of
them. Yeah.
It's quite expansive.
Read all of them.
How far you want to go back? Yeah.
Yeah. It's like your North Korea, South Korea stuff sucks. Like, I agree. Because there's a lot of holes. I have a running list.
Yeah. Your Sumerian knowledge is not up to date.
Yeah, no, totally. I've got a whole list of I just have a timeline starting from below zero and then up. And I just go okay, this is a massive gap. And then I just, it's like a life to-do list. It's not like, hey, this week I got to pick up dry cleaning. It's by the time you're 70, have a better understanding of this.
I've just decided to know all the history. I just decided that.
Yeah.
I always kind of, guy now.
People think, I think about what I would say on my deathbed a lot, which I know a lot of people do too.
Huh.
And I think I'll just be like, there's so many books I didn't finish.
You would say
my greatest
that?
regret. Yeah, I'd be like, do you regret not having kids? I'd be like, I regret not finishing all the Atkinson stuff. Whack.
That's whack. That's a whack thing to say on your deathbed.
It is. It's kind of a douche comment. Yeah.
Noted. I'll put that on the to-do list.
Yeah, jot that down.
The life. I got a pen right here. Okay. You guys may have taken that a little too seriously. Anyway.
Yeah, probably.
What do we got here? We got somebody from Target checking in. Now, look, shout out to Target. Yes. I shop there. I don't know that they've ever been a sponsor. I don't know if they're going to love this email, but we want to help everybody because we did have somebody kind of just chime in and, like the karma police. Although sometimes when I think about karma, I'm like, that guy's doing pretty well and he sucks. So I never know. But
not 100% hit rate, but
Yeah, no.
They're more like guidelines. Yeah.
It feels a bit like drafting quarterbacks in the first round. Great points, Ceruti. So anyway, huge fan, never miss an episode. I want to give some perspective as a longtime Target employee. I've run stores for a long time, and I can tell you that in this situation, again, we had somebody who picked up a TV, ordered it online, picked it up in person, had a bunch of kids. They did the whole transaction, brought the TV home, set it up, and realized they never processed it right, and they refunded him for the TV. So he's like, what do I do? What do I do? And I think most people kind of knew what the move was.
That was the breaks.
Even if if you feel a little guilty about it. I do think if it's Dan and Debbie's home audio, that's where you have to step up and think about the small business. So again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm running for mayor, but I think everybody knows what the rules are, even if we don't like to admit it. And I'm not even saying that I'm admitting it, right? So here's a guy who works and manages stores, and he's telling us basically the easiest thing for everyone is just keep the TV and pretend nothing happened. Target's system sucks. And what happened here is an employee just didn't process your order correctly. Unfortunately, if you went up there to try to do the right thing, it would create mass confusion. You'd end up spending 30 plus minutes explaining the situation to multiple people all the way up through store management, but nobody would know what to do, and you'd leave extremely frustrated. Literally, the only solution is just say you wanted to pay for a TV and leave it at the store. There are similar situations that happen all the time, similar to what Oregon, aka Oregon, described with Callaway. We've had people bring in their duplicate items. There's literally nothing the system can do. If the person just leaves it with us, we have to destroy it or donate it because it's a system limitation. My advice is do exactly what Oregon said. Sometimes life works out, and sometimes you have to charge it to the game. Take the win.
Side note, I wonder why all these massive you go into a Best Buy, Target, whatever. I mean, Modell's was way down that list too. It's like, why are all the computers like a full generation behind what everyone's using? And you have to do complicated stuff. And how many times have you heard like, yeah, the system's not cooperating today? Like, well, that's all the system is supposed to do. I mean, you need a new system. Everything is like, those big old clickety clack keyboards. And it's like, how?
McDonald's, Windows 97 is down
iPads.
again.
Chick-fil-A's got iPads, and you guys are using, dial-up basically. It's crazy.
Yeah, the keyboard is literally like beige from just like years of staining on it.
Yeah.
It's like cigarette.
It's the loudest thing you've ever heard. It's like, how is this what you're doing to process I'm supposed to return a basketball hoop? What the hell is going on here?
Yeah, it feels like the same maybe excuse for the McDonald's McFlurry machine not working. Is it not working, or do you just not want to really deal with the hassle of using the machine? Maybe that's the returns.
You don't feel like Jimmy in it today.
I know a lot of people talk about culture with those ice cream machines, but I was at a family farm in the middle of nowhere, Vermont this summer, just driving around. I went, you know what? I'm going to get a little soft serve. Mom and pop shop, locally owned, family. They had a little cart out in front of the farm. I'm like, look at me giving back to the community. I don't even care how much this cone costs. I'm like, I never get soft serve. I'm going to do it. I rolled up. She's like, it's not working. And I was like, you know what? Another data point right here.
Right.
Yeah.
Extrapolate that.
I do think department store keyboard beige would be an awesome crayon color. Whatever that is, it is, you're so right, Ceruti. It is a very specific, with speckles of dirt and age. So look, the message here isn't F everyone. I hope that's clear. But, we have a guy on the inside going, feel less guilty about that TV transaction.
Well, you ever buy something off of Amazon and
yeah.
Usually
we love Amazon. They're sponsors,
Yep, but usually they're lower on the rung of like cost levels. But they'll just be like, if you want to return it, they'll be like, yeah, just keep it. Like that. It's more of a hassle for us to take it back than it is for you to just take it. I bought a pair of sunglasses. Didn't really like the way they fit on my face. I think they were like under $20, and they were like, yeah, just keep it. It's fine. Like,
cool. But it's not always, because my wife ordered this. I mean, I don't even want to say what it is. It was like a stupid thing. It cost like $4. They sent an empty. I'm not going to do it. They sent an empty like package. There was nothing in it, and the thing would only have been like, I don't know, like a couple of ounces in weight. So I could see how it slips through the cracks or whatever. But they sent this empty package, and I went to go like say I never got it, but I did get the package. And there was like no option. They were like, what do you mean? They're like, so just send it back. Like, I'm saying there's nothing in the package. And they was just like, does not compute. And I was like, wow, Amazon, I've returned stuff to Amazon many times. But when they give you the package that's empty, no one knows what to do. So if there's an Amazon guy out there, let me know for next time. And I wanted to leave it alone. And my wife was like, no. We're not taking this $4 loss. I was like, I don't know where to go from here. They're talking about maybe calling me, and I can't do that.
I just don't like the clear SIM card cases, Kyle.
Yeah.
So, hat solution, should have thought of this one. It's great. So, easy solution, take the guy to a sporting event where they sing the national anthem.
Saw that one.
Has to take the hat off, unless he's in the military. that's the kind of one where you're like, we need to do better. But that's it. I mean, again, iron sharpens iron here.
I don't know. I feel like we've got lax on the hat thing. But
what do you mean?
I feel like people don't always take their hat off.
Yeah, I've been at the Dodgers, seen a couple caps still on when everyone stands up.
I think that's accurate. I don't know if that's a generational thing or what's happening, to be honest with you. But sometimes you just forget. Like I've had one on and just in the moment kind of forgot, and then
just becomes a part of you after a while.
Yeah,
right?
Somebody taps you and you're like, oh, and you generally feel bad. I mean, it is, I think, a very easy mistake. But the thing is, you got people out there looking for it. Like they didn't even care. They don't even notice when the anthem starts.
Like Tony Soprano in the restaurant,
right? Yeah,
take your fucking hat off. Just cursed again.
These 3 hours are gonna be awesome once I find like 3 guys
right
that have hats. Hey, and you just there's a way to handle it or whatever. But if it's your date and he doesn't do it, although you don't know, like if he served.
Okay.
I don't know. I mean, unrelated. Did you guys see Friendship?
Yes, loved it.
Not yet.
Paul Rudd, Tim Robinson. Have you seen the outtakes of that anywhere?
I saw the long one where the guy's like, where Tim's in front of his drum set, but that's the only one I saw.
Yeah, I think I've seen 4 of the outtakes from the drum set scene. It was Connor O'Malley's the other guy who was in Detroiters with him, and he's also, I think you should leave. He has one outtake where he's wearing a Vietnam vet hat, and Tim is like, "Hey, what's with that hat?" He's like, "Are you a vet?" He's like, "No, I'm just a huge fan."
I think I have seen that. Yeah.
He's like, "That's stolen valor." He's like, "It's not." He's like, "The guys think it's great." He's like, "I bought it."
The guys think it's great.
Yeah. He's like, "It's my favorite. It's so good." Anyway, shout out to Connor. All right. A couple emails. What do we got? All right. Ruin new coworker's life. 31, 5'10", 170, can bench 225, but rarely go that hard anymore. Well, if you have that mindset, will you ever go hard again? Just a thought. Player comp is Wizards, Paul Pierce. I rarely do anything, but I still like to take the last shot. I think he was still a
call game.
Box score plus, to be honest with you. It's after that Wizards run is when it started. The old win share 48 numbers took a pretty steep decline those last 2 years. I started a new job at an investment firm last week. I work in a mid-sized firm, and there were 8 other new hires that started with me. As we wrapped up our first week of new hire training, our HR rep hosted a fun game of Company Jeopardy. The HR rep is a young, energetic person who clearly hasn't had the life sucked out of her by corporate America yet. She was excited to introduce Jeopardy, as this was the first time she had tried it out. The game, HR rep would ask a question. We would all click a buzzer that showed who raised their hand first. The game started, and a 28, 29-year-old man named, let's call him George, answered the first 3 questions right off the bat. Not wanting to win, but not wanting 0 points, I buzzed in during the next question a few seconds before the HR rep was done reading the question. I got the answer right, but I opened up Pandora's box. George took my idea to the extreme and proceeded to buzz in as soon as each new question was clicked into. He proceeded to buzz in first for 19 of the next 21 questions. Boy, you really kept track. You hate this guy. And answered them all. Halfway through George's personal game of Jeopardy, the poor HR rep tried a, quote, "I hope someone else gets a chance to answer." But George was not deterred. You could see
it's a bunch of third graders.
George proceeded to squeeze the life and energy out of everyone from the group and from our HR host. The game was ruined, and I've now decided to make George my mortal enemy. Training will continue for the next few weeks, so I'll have plenty of time on my hands to annoy George as he annoyed me. What can I do over the next 2 weeks to make this guy's life hell? It appears he's married, so calling him a virgin won't work in this instance. Although if he is married and still a virgin, it's probably going to sting double.
Double whammy, yeah.
Yeah. You're like, dude, I know. He just gives you this stare of emptiness. I'm thinking classic stuff like steal the lunch, shoot down every idea he has, and overall undermine him in any way possible. Thank you for the many years of laughs and joy. Wow. He hates this guy. I think my question is, what if did he get 19 right?
I feel like he would have said if he got him wrong. He was keeping track, so it sounds like maybe he did. I think usually
those HR questions, though, are like pretty, they're layups. It's like
below you.
Yeah. Should you punch someone at work? No.
you're going to have plenty of time to hate this guy. Like, you're not even really in Gen Pop yet. There might be somebody you hate way more, and then you've got 2 enemies at work. I mean, really, you should only have room for one guy you really hate. And I would just wait on this. Everyone else in that room saw what you saw too. They might not be as fired up as you are, but I mean, there might be someone when you're in the regular workings of work that you're like, wow, this guy's way worse. And now you've made 2 enemies. I don't know. I'd wait.
Yeah, somebody sent me a training question because we used to have to do this at Disney a lot. And it always turned into this classic, like, on-air guys never wanted to do it ever. I think some dudes even paid people to do it for them. And then some manager would come running in and be like, you haven't done your last 8 compliance things. Like, my job is to have takes, right? My job is to walk in, and when that light goes on, be ready. It's like, not really. You need to do these. So I would do them. Somebody sent me one from a recent training thing they had, and it was like, should you say this at work? Hey, you caused these problems yourself from what I can tell.
It's crazy that anyone's qualified to write those questions. Like, it's every job needs it. It's like, the highest of the highest managers are making sure this stuff gets answered, and anyone can write those questions. It's crazy.
I think I'd like to see a debate show where they go over HR training questions, and then there has to be a guy zagging and being like, okay, it is harsh, but it is to the point. And what if you're right?
Right. Make this work.
From what I can tell, this is all on you, 100%. Well, look, if you got him right, I almost think you got to leave him alone. But for the sake of the email here, you have to bring in somebody else that you trust. Like, whenever we used to have to do anything related to any kind of corporate stuff, and again, on-air people didn't really have to do this all that often, but every now and then, they'd load us all into a room. And usually just Van Pelt and I, again, we were aligned because we're on the same show, but we would have a lot of fun in those with eye contact. And then after like 30 minutes, I would usually tap out because it was just like Mike is the best. And then Colin would be like, I'm the best. And Scott and I would just sit there. And so I would just be like, are we sure? Like, I would just get to the point of like 30 minutes of it where I would just start asking stupid questions only to entertain Scott. So I think what you need to do here is you need to figure out a way. And it's not so much that you're ruining George's life, because that seems a little harsh, especially if he's just great and he understands his history. Maybe there's no gaps whatsoever in his timeline. But if he's an annoying, like, go-getter, which maybe he deserves praise for that, you probably need to invite somebody else in and just start asking ridiculous follow-ups to see if he'll answer those or something like that. Like, I think you need to make this more entertaining for you and one other person, because it's kind of psychotic to do it by yourself and enjoy it. And stealing the lunch, right. I mean, that's crossing a line. Like, you know how bad it is when you have this anticipation of this thing that you're about to eat in 3 or 4 hours and then it's not there. I mean, that's a form of kidnapping, really.
Yeah, it's really a little psychotic and no fun. Not as much fun to hate a guy in silent than if you have like a partner. So I'd wait. And to my earlier point, I really think there might be someone else once you actually start working with everyone and you're done with training. Like, you might hate that guy more, and now you put all this energy into hating a guy that now hates you, and now there's a new guy. I think you should try to keep it to one mortal enemy. So I just slow play this.
I'd like to think that, like, our guy, because there's a version of this that's funny to me, like where this guy just starts ripping off 20 straight answers and takes this game so seriously. Like, my first instinct wouldn't be to hate that guy.
He's a nightmare at softball.
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, there's something kind of funny about it. Maybe there's something a little off about him or whatever. And he might be kind of a good dude to be around because he just doesn't really understand these cues. So I don't know. Maybe this guy obviously knows the situation better than we do, and maybe he is a huge tool and was just taking it way too seriously and ruining everyone's fun. But I'm kind of with Kyle. Like, I don't know that could you just leave it alone? I don't like, what else? I guess see if he does anything else that's more annoying. Like, you're still so early in the game that, like, maybe he's actually like a sick worker and like is just looking to make friends. It could help you out down the road. Like, I don't know. I think I'd give it more time.
Sounds like he thinks it's going to be a Jim and Dwight situation, and that was funny. But I mean, this is real life, and there's probably other things that come from that you're not thinking of.
But to that point, Jim had other people that were kind of in on the thing.
Yeah.
And like you need to do that first.
Agreed.
The meatball cold open wasn't that funny.
What?
Just thinking about The Office when Jim would make meatballs and put them in Dwight's desk. And then Stanley and Dwight were like, we're getting free meatballs all week. Like, that's excessive. I don't think anybody would make that many meatballs. Yeah, I mean, look, maybe the emailer, we're not giving him enough credit here just because if he's this worked up about it to send in the email, like maybe this guy, because there is a version of this guy who absolutely sucks. And this was the clincher for him. Like there were other things that he didn't like. And then he goes and he does this and he takes it super seriously. But, a lot like a really great basketball player who decides it's beneath him to try hard. Maybe that's what you are. Maybe you're amazing. Maybe you're in the pickup game of life and you got these Georges trying really hard and boxing out and stuff. And you just know that you're more talented than him. And that's the win. That's the win you take home with you every day. And you don't need to steal his food. Okay. Tone of today is weird. I don't know. Is it me?
I'm getting a little of it. I don't know what it is. Can't put my finger on it.
Yeah. What do you think it is?
I don't know.
Is it bad? Do we need to turn things around?
No, hey, it's third down. Let's try again.
All right. I like that. Okay.
Big third down here.
Big third down. All right. Let's go for it.
Nice.
Big third down. What do? I don't watch the game, but I tweet constantly if there's a big third down. I mean, like usually 3rd, 7, 3rd, and 8. Fourth quarter, 1-score game. Those are pretty big. So I just want to make sure all 1,200 followers know. What's up, guys? Checking in at 5:10. NFL. 5'10", 155. No gym stats or pickup comp to share, but I play a decent amount of golf and fluctuate between a 10 and 12 handicap. All right, man. The reason I'm emailing is I'm getting out on the links myself today, bud. The reason I'm emailing is hoping the gang can settle a debate between my wife and me. We live in Columbus. Feel free to use. Too late. And we have what I would say is a fair to above average number of bikers, both recreational and those using their bike as a primary mode of transit. These bikers drive me nuts for a host of reasons. My wife believes that I have an unhealthy obsession and hatred towards bikers. I believe they've taken a seemingly innocuous and healthy hobby and completely ruined it with their disregard for others and or basic rules of the road. Hoping you guys can help us out and settle this debate. My complaints are as follows. We've got bullet points, buddy. The major loves dots. Complaint 1. Bikers think that the rules of the road do not apply to them. They love riding their bikes in the street like they are any old motor vehicle. You'd think that if bikers are going to pretend that they're a motor vehicle, they'd follow the same rules every car abides by. Well, I'm here to tell you this is rarely the case. So far, I'm aligned with you, and I've biked. But yeah, I mean, the stop signs, lights, and that stuff, sidewalks, doesn't apply to them. But then as soon as they're on the road with you, like, I don't know, man.
Stop signs drive me a little nuts with bikers.
Yeah, for sure. If cars are lined up at a stoplight, bikers love rolling past the line of cars to get to the front of the line. What's worse, well, I don't know that he's supposed to like stay necessarily right in line on that one. Maybe I'll give him a pass on that. What's worse, most bikers arrive at the red light. They look for cross traffic, and if no one's coming, they blow the red light and pedal right through the intersection. I agree. Bikers also slow down traffic as they rarely exceed 15, 20 miles an hour. Couldn't they use the uninhabited sidewalk that is literally right next to the road? Well, no,
you can't.
I don't think you can. Like when I see, there was a car the other day. I mean, again, I don't know how this stuff pops up. But there was full 10 speed going and he was on the sidewalk and a truck pulled into a gas station and the biker slammed into the truck. It actually looked a little bit too like the bike wanted to hit the truck. It looked like he had plenty of time to slow down, but I don't know. I didn't have a radar gun on it, but that'd be the first thing is you would say, well, I didn't see you, but it's like, well, you were on the sidewalk. I'm sure that's the first thing a cop would say. Bikers love to throw up their arms in dismay like James Harden when he's like a foul call anytime a car passes them. Are we supposed to be late for our engagement because bikers want to get a little exercise on a nice sunny day? Complaint 2, a lot of biking enthusiasts dress like they're climbing the Pyrenees. I'm totally for getting a good workout wearing appropriate attire, but do bikers really need to dress up like they're in the late stages of the Tour de France?
Mm-hmm. Sound a little haterish here.
This could be an example of like, make the 1 point and we're on your side. And then it's your own points are diminishing the impact of the overall point. If a college student or delivery driver can bike in regular everyday clothing, why can't other bikers? Well, look, I'm not telling you I've got a ton of biker gear in the closet, but if they want to wear it, whatever. Wind resistance, ever heard of it? Before I rest my case, I'd like to present a photo of a biker going 17 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour road. As you can see in the picture, there's an actual bike path right next to the road, but this fellow has decided not to use it.
Yeah, I see that.
That's what I was going to ask. Columbus, I would think there's bike lanes. College town, a lot of stuff going on. I would think there's bike lanes in 70% of the places.
Tell you where there's bike lanes now. Boston. I cannot believe what they did with that city. Just
really?
Not my city.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. I don't follow this guy, but I keep seeing, I think it's the same guy who basically rides around in the bike lanes in New York City with a GoPro. And New York City, I think bike lanes it's just like a free for all. Almost cursed there. I stopped myself. Nice. But it's just a free for all. And he just does a supercut of him in the bike lane and just, old ladies with a little grocery cart, like getting ready to step off the curb. And he's like, wow, that's a great place to stand. And it's like it's like 10 minutes.
I've seen it.
Just,
I don't fuck that guy.
People.
I'll swear. Yeah. I don't, I've seen that guy's content and it's like, you're going, I mean, good for you if you could pedal fast for that long, but I've seen his stuff and look, the motorcycle stuff is like the all time. We've already covered that, but like there's these biker pages where they're constantly showing how the people driving cars are at fault and like they may be at fault. But if you're splitting lanes where it's legal and it's traffic, do you know how much trust you have in hundreds of people to be able to just think, hey, I wonder if as I change lanes here, if somebody could potentially be splitting traffic. And if you're a biker, you're like, well, hey, if it's the rule, then it's something you have to think about. But you're denying like the human nature element of, am I going to remember to think about this other layer of traffic that is not always something I'm thinking about? So that biker guy that I've seen from New York City, like clearly the content is him fucking with everybody. So I think he kind of knows what he's doing. But yeah, look, I think the overall point, I'm with the emailer here, but have you ever been on a bike where somebody doesn't give you a little bit of room to pass? It's a horrifying feeling. Like when somebody's just a foot away from you on the left, like you think you're going down. Yeah. So
when I was on the Lime scooters before I got the Stang,
what happened to those? Did anybody get any stock? What did you get a stock price on that?
I think something must have happened. There must have been some sort of cap put on, at least in Los Angeles. There are way less, or maybe the demand went down. COVID probably,
Wait, those are the ones that you just like leave wherever and
you leave wherever, and old people like to knock them over and protest.
And there's just I'm gonna swear, but there's just like fucking scooters all over the street in these cities.
There are.
And it looks dumb. It's dumb.
There are.
Yeah, that had to have been the deal because it's over. It's already over. I was in Austin in 2019 for like peak Lime scooter season. And
it was like locusts.
It was it looked like scenes from like the Terminator of just metal everywhere.
Right.
When they jump ahead on the timeline. Right. And I'm thinking like, there's a junkyard over here? They're like, no, it's just all the scooters. And then there was that awesome long form. I don't know if it was the LA Times or what, but it was just about these guys that go trying to find, there's like rewards for the ones that are left like in non-normalized drop-off areas. Yeah. And so there would just be these vans that were just these bounty hunters, except
2 a.m, jumping your fence.
Yeah. Yeah, like this world of these dudes just hunting down these scooters, and then however it would work for the compensation.
You're like $4 a scooter or something.
It was wild. So I don't know if that had something to do with it, but I don't know, man. You kind of feel like, was there a short potential on this one? Because it's like, what city's going to be like, yeah, it's cool. There's just scooters a strewn, right?
Yeah.
Strewn across.
It was a classic, like there's not a law against this yet. So it's like, let's get in now, pedal to the metal. And then I think eventually, local governments were like, all right, we got to do something. Let's put something on paper here. Because like West Hollywood, I think it was either West Hollywood. Yeah, it was West Hollywood was the first like borough or whatever you want to call it, first little city in LA to ban it. So it would like you get, if you're going to West Hollywood, you just cross the city limit and your scooter just stopped. And so there was a bunch of scooters on the city limit of West Hollywood because they had something on their little map. But it's like, I think it was like one town at a time sort of deal, unless a state got together and did it.
Yeah, it's a perfect example of kind of like the Chipotle, stealing the hot sauce.
Wow, bringing that back. Okay.
Like you want to trust people to like put the scooters like at least on the side or stand them up on a fence somewhere out of the way, and then it just never ends up. Everyone ends up seeing that they're just in the middle of the crosswalks. And
they did. And then I saw videos, and even in my own neighborhood, I just see like it was always an old person who just couldn't understand it. And they're like, in protest of the scooter being on the sidewalk, I'm going to knock it into the street. It's like, wait, so it's like a 2-tiered screw up here. It's like people are riding like a-holes and leaving them all over the place. And then the old people who hate those people are now throwing them into the street or like knocking them over on the sidewalk. So it was just a bad system.
I'm looking up a bunch of stuff right now. It seems like a bunch of places passed laws.
Yeah.
And then it may have been a bit like Uber in the beginning. Remember, like, the first time somebody introduced you to Uber? They're like, yeah, it's way cheaper and the cars are here and you don't have to tip. And it was like, just give me a taste. Just give me a little bit of taste. We'll give the entire world a little taste and then we're going to hit them with the real price. So I don't know if that was part of it too. I guess the company, I don't even know if any of this is true, but there's no stock price, by the way. It never went public.
I will say too, off of the GoPro dash cam thing, it does feel like some of those videos, like the people are just looking, like it's content, so the people are looking for a reason for someone to hit them or to to create bullshit.
Call up Morgan and Morgan, get that thing going.
Like so there's some dash cam stuff where it's just like, okay, you're like, this feels like it's too convenient to be actually true, So I don't know. I know dash cams are good. I mean, people say get a dash cam because you never know. Like, if somebody hits you and there's no witnesses, like obviously you'll have evidence. But it does feel like people just use those sometimes to, I don't know, just create good content for whatever fee they're trying to curate.
Wargon, I don't know. I know you don't have a ton of square footage, but you got a bike on the wall. You bike around New York.
I can see that.
I'm too afraid to bike around New York.
Oh,
to be
a good
honest.
person. Very nice.
Just like people are running red lights all over the place. There's people jaywalking. Like, I have some friends who have gotten hurt. Like, it just doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah, stand on your own too. You need some exercise. Go run, dude.
What was that?
Did you see the movie Quicksilver with Kevin Bacon when you were a kid or something?
No.
Like, man.
Don't know what that is.
1985.
Did before me.
85. Well,
yeah, but it's Kevin Bacon. I think that'll do it. I don't know. I don't know what the tone was today. I don't feel like it was bad. I just
settled for a field goal. It's all right. You'll take it.
Yeah, but see, that's on me. I'm the one calling plays. I'm the one dropping back. I'm not going to blame my receivers.
Nice.
You're the offensive coordinator and the quarterback in this scenario?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyone want to dispute it?
No.
We did see the Oregon tackle video. Holy shit. How did that not win an Emmy, man?
I did. Won a Mid-Atlantic Emmy.
Oh, Mid-Atlantic.
Collegiate Mid-Atlantic.
Really?
Yeah.
God, there's a lot of Emmys out there.
I have no idea
whether
that's true or not.
He wouldn't. Wow. Oregon would not lie to us.
No.
He's a lot of things.
Did you get the statue?
Give me a statue. It was for like
pay like $100 for that.
I think they sent me an email about it. I don't think there was like a statue or anything.
Yeah, okay. Get a sticker.
Yeah.
Put a magnet.
This is kind of crazy though. Oregon's got an Emmy.
Yeah. The only Emmy on the show.
We should have to do an episode
true?
where we do. Yeah, I mean, I would never be nominated for anything. Stuff I've done. Come on.
A Webby something? Nothing?
No. Whenever I've seen like any awards for that stuff, it's usually like I would say there's a very consistent pattern of if somebody from a magazine or a newspaper writes about their favorite like radio shows or podcasts, you'll see the list.
Best sports podcast list.
Yeah, and you'll go,
it's like, I haven't heard of most of these.
Like, okay.
Yeah.
BS Pod won an Emmy or a Webby right before I got on, and I was like, well, I definitely missed it. Tate has the statue in his house, and I was like, damn, definitely missed the train. They're probably not going to double back.
I think I got an email once about like, hey, fill out this form.
Dude, those Webbies, they are.
Yeah, for the Bill Simmons has been nominated. Fill out this form, whatever, blah, blah. And I think I asked Bill about it. He was like, I don't care.
Dude, it's like 4 months.
Right.
It's 4 months of last chance to pay $500 to be on the list. And then just like, it's almost like a collection plate. It's like I've just unsubscribed and somehow they keep getting at me. Last chance, like I thought you said the last chance was 4 months ago. Like, if you do want to pay $500, we'll squeeze you in.
That's the thing. If you have to pay money to win an award, at what point is that just like a participation trophy?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Mr. Olympia, there's probably an entry fee.
All right, that's fair. But I don't know.
Got to keep the lights on, I guess. I don't know.
You're saying Webbies are different? You're probably right.
Yeah.
I think we end on that note. We found a way. All right. Thanks to Oregon. Thanks to Ceruti. Thanks to Kyle. Thanks to Jonathan Frias. The Ryen Russillo podcast. also available in video form on the Spotify app and our YouTube page. Please subscribe. Ryen Russillo Podcast, Ringer, Spotify.
They were going to name me Michael Jordan. My dad was like, I don't think he can live up to it, so they named me Michael Jared.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states. For Kansas, in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino, or 18 plus and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is there. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts, or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY in New York.